You are now listening to The Empowered Woman, Conversations by Becoming Her magazine, where we amplify women's voices one story at a time. Hosted by Jasmine Hawkins and Crystal Jordan.
Guys, I'm your host, Crystal Jordan.
And I'm Jasmine Hawkins, the co-founder of Becoming Her magazine. And tonight we have Maggie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you all so much for having me.
Of course.
No, thank you for being a part of our platform. Thank you for being featured in Becoming Her magazine. We cannot get to know you a lot more through this interview. And so we're going to start off with you telling us your story. Like, you can start from, how did you become Maggie the Substitute Teacher, and what made you want to get into that industry?
Absolutely, and thank you for asking. So my name is Margaret Brown. Maggie is my childhood nickname. And so Maggie the Substitute Teacher started as my YouTube cooking channel. It's kind of morphed into food and femininity content, but the Maggie the Substitute Teacher is because on my health and wellness journey, I cook with sugar substitutes, dairy substitutes, and gluten substitutes. So that's where Maggie the Substitute Teacher comes from.
Oh, wow. So are you actually a teacher?
I'm not. So many people ask me that. I actually work in tech. I'm the daughter of two retired teachers, but my man, when I was coming up with I'm going to start cooking online, I was thinking something simple like cooking with Maggie or Maggie can cook. And he said, you know what, that's boring. You need something, everybody can relate to. You're always putting those substitutes in your food. Why don't you do something like Maggie the Substitute Teacher? And I'm like, well, I'm not a real teacher. And he said, yeah, but everybody's had a substitute teacher, and the rest is history.
I love that. Now
that is wow. Like, this whole time I've been thinking you're a substitute teacher, and wow, so you're really an engineer, so you're really into STEM.
I am. I'm a senior business analyst. I've been in tech over 15 years. I have a degree in chemistry and I have an MBA in technology management, but the kitchen is my happy place.
I love that.
The kitchen is your happy place. Let me tell you, I think it's the America happy place.
I love you some food. So
she loves food so much. Let me tell you, I ain't mean to cut Jasmine off, but she loves food so much. She would tell events, is it going to be food for me while I'm being your media? And I'd be like, oh my God. But she be right though, because the industry is so, they don't treat us like humans. And she is really changing the narrative when it comes to them feeding media. But food is her love language.
I think that's something we all have in common that brings us together. It's in every culture. It's at every age. I think food just brings so many memories, and I've been on my own health and wellness journey. And so my goal with my channel was really to take recipes that we grew up with, all of that comfort food that we like, but change it in a way to make food that I want to eat using ingredients that I have to eat.
That's powerful.
So I was just about to say the same thing, Jasmine. That was powerful. Like, so pretty much you use healthy foods to create comfort foods. Wow.
Absolutely. So, for example, one of my signatures is Maggie cakes, and it just came from, I'm a boy mom, two teenage boys, a former wife of 10 years, and a mom of two boys, and I still cook full flavor for the family. Hungry Jack pancakes, Bisquick, bacon, eggs, and all of that. And I'm cleaning up after the kids, and I'm like, I can't have any of this. And so I just kind of take those recipes, and I'm like, what if I use almond flour instead of regular flour? What if I use stevia instead of sugar? And so I just experiment with the different recipes. Sometimes it's a success. Sometimes it's an epic fail, but we have fun either way.
That sounds like fun. And it sounds delicious. I'm like, can I come over?
Absolutely. I love cooking for people.
Where are you based? Florida, Atlanta?
So I'm here in the Atlanta area.
Yay! Miss
So,
Maggie, we gotta invite you to our cover reveal.
oh yeah.
I have
It
no idea what that
is.
is, but it sounds incredible.
It's this Saturday. It's this Saturday. I said it right the first time. It's this Saturday.
Next Saturday.
It's yep. Yeah, this Saturday, same thing. But we can invite you. So just wanna before we get off, once we're done recording, we'll invite you. So
Thank you.
So
you're welcome.
what was a pivotal moment in your career with Maggie the Substitute Teacher?
So I think the biggest pivotal moment, like I said, my channel started out as a cooking channel and I'm on all platforms. I started off on YouTube, but I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And really, when I started my health and wellness journey, so far I'm down about 80 pounds. I've got at least 20 more to go. And so I would just come up with different recipes on my own. And I have a pretty good eye for plating. And I've had some executive jobs with the Coca-Cola company and worked with private chefs. And so I can make the food look really good. So I would just cook in my kitchen on my own. And then I would post on social media the finished product. This is what I'm eating today. Because as I started losing weight, people would say, what are you doing? What are you eating? Y'all know how it goes. And so I would post the plates and people would say, did you make that? And I'm like, yeah, I made that. So then they would come in the comments with, how did you make that? So then I would reply in the comments, well, first I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. And it just ended up me turning on the camera. And now I go live while I'm making what I'm eating for dinner or what I'm feeding the family so people can actually see how I make what I make.
Mm. That's interesting. Like, and I guess that's the case. Just with social media in general, right? I was in a podcast today, and the lady was like, the world is just nosy, it's nosy. So, and that can be in a good way and a bad way, and in this situation, it was in a good way because you've lost all. And you're showing all of these delicious foods, and people are interested, want to know, what are you doing, how are you doing it? And that's great marketing. That's a great way to push your platform, so kudos to you.
Thank you so much. I think social media is a very useful tool, but like anything, it's a double-edged sword. I'm very intentional about the content that I make. I make sure that it's wholesome, it's family friendly, because sometimes if the boys are with me, they'll come through the kitchen. My mom may be watching, and so I want everybody to feel included. And so I don't have I know there's lots of other content out there that's for clicks and views, and that's fine, but I really want to create something that is part of my legacy. And when I look back on it, or my kids or my grandkids one day, they'll be proud of me.
Well, let me start off by saying I'm proud of you because we need more of that in the world. And we are positive media. So people be so excited to see, oh my God, y'all don't post anything negative. Y'all don't gossip about other big celebrities. Even in person when we meet people, we don't do that. And I love that you're creating your legacy for your family to look back at. And that goes into my next question. Can you share a defining moment in your career when you realize you were truly becoming the woman you aspire to be?
Oh my goodness, that was probably the next pivot for me. So I said in the beginning that I have a channel that's food and femininity content. And I still cook. I cook every day. But now I started teaching femininity, elegance, and etiquette. And it all just started because one day I was on a live stream, I was cooking, and I got something to drink, and I made a comment like, ladies, make sure when you hold your glass, you hold it by the stem. I learned this in etiquette school. And then I just put it down and went on to the recipe, and they were like, wait a minute, what? That's a thing? And I had privately been taking classes because for me, being a boy mom, being an executive, being in corporate America, and just this fast-paced world that we live in, I had gotten more masculine than I wanted to be. And so I was just working on refining myself so that I can be as sophisticated, that I think is the best version of myself. And people started asking me about that. And that led into the other content that I make. And now I've launched the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, which is a private 8-week Saturday school that I teach, and so many other courses and consults. And I really feel like I finally am doing what I'm supposed to do, because the tech stuff and all of that, that's great. That's what I do, but that's not who I am.
That's awesome. I also took an etiquette class, but I took it in the fourth or fifth grade. But it was an amazing experience. And it taught me so much, like that there's little spoons and what the different things for the plates they're for, and how to set a table, and how to really be more girly and more feminine, as you stated. And it's stuck with me my whole life, and I truly enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I took that class. I wish I could do another one.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that I've learned. It never ages. Elegance never ages. We can always get better. Everybody wants to be the best version of themselves, and it's going to be different for different people. Some people, it might be your public speaking skills. Some people, it might be your style or your fashion sense. For me, it might be, making healthier food choices. But when I started exploring this area, I loved it. And to your point, Jasmine, I'll be teaching in a couple weeks girls from like 8 to 18 dining etiquette, and in my classes I teach ladies from like 16 to 60 plus. So it's never too soon and it's never too late.
I want to touch on it's never too late. Now, I took etiquette classes in high school, and I learned a lot. It really bled into my adulthood. But I do feel that at this age now, I need to retouch up on a few etiquette points. So when I do go to more events that are more out of my league, I know how to represent myself. So my question to you next is, what advice would you give a young woman as far as into your career? Because your career is do you feel like it's man dominated?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I work in tech. It's not uncommon for me to be the only woman in this space. Sometimes I would say the only woman of color, but we do have a lot of Indian brothers and sisters in tech, but sometimes maybe the only Black woman, especially in the executive spaces. But yeah, corporate America is very competitive. It's data driven. It's fast paced. So it is a man's world.
I agree. And even with the etiquette classes, I've seen that they are led by men too, in some cases. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like, I'm glad that we're starting to take over, like it's kind of like a takeover. And and we're really starting to put ourselves out there and step into these male dominant fields, and we're doing amazing. It's so
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
agreeing with you.
Women have so many opportunities now. I guess where I differentiate myself, even though I work in a masculine space, I don't believe that I have to compete with men as men. I think you can still be feminine and be effective. You can be assertive, and in corporate spaces, a lot of times women think that we've got to be one of the boys, but you would be surprised how much, especially men, they do appreciate a woman who loves being a woman and is confident in that. And there's like a quiet confidence that comes from that. And you can actually make a lot of allies by understanding that your femininity really is a superpower. But absolutely, the sky's the limit. We can have any role that we want to, and great opportunities.
I have a question for you. You entering that industry, what made you want to do that? Like, did you grow up wanting to get into that industry? Like, before I get into the next question, I have to ask that first. to understand the point of me answering this question, because you being a woman, I didn't aspire to want to grow up and be in tech. Of course, I feel that was pushed on women growing up is be a mom, be married, have kids, be a homemaker, be a stay-at-home mom. That is what was pushed when I was younger onto girls like me, with the dolls, the baby alive dolls, and us learning how to take care of a baby. Now that I'm older, I look at that so weird. Like, why was that even a toy? Why do we have a toy that wakes us up in the middle of the night to learn how to care for it? Like, what was the thought process behind this toy? But I digress. So you growing up, what made you want to get into this industry, this field?
Absolutely. A little bit of a winding road, but my backstory is I'm actually an immigrant. So I was born in Ghana, which is a beautiful country in West Africa. My parents came to the U.S. for education, like most immigrants. So I grew up in a little bubble of academia. I grew up in Athens, Georgia. Go Dogs. Both of my parents have PhDs. And so I had that example. Likewise, they were both very traditional at home. My dad was the man, my mom was the wife. And so I had that example of being able to do both. You can be professional and then also take care of home. You just have to choose wisely. So I had, nuclear family, mom, dad, sister, brother, grew up. I always liked math and science. So I think naturally I'm smart in that area. When I went to college, I went to a wonderful all-girls HBCU here in Atlanta, Spelman College. I'll be celebrating my silver, my 25th this year. And so I have a degree in chemistry because, like most immigrants, I was kind of pushed towards be a doctor, be a lawyer, be one of those traditional fields. And so I got this chemistry degree, and then I realized, I don't really want to be in the laboratory like that. I don't really want to be around sick people like that. Maybe I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. So I got a job right out of college. A company came to Spelman to do the career placement office. And it was a sales job, and I absolutely hated it. But the company that I was working for offered something very rare. It was 100% tuition reimbursement. And my boyfriend, who became my fiance, who became my husband, worked in tech. And he's like, you're smart. You can do this stuff too. And so I just decided to go back to school because I didn't have the experience in tech. That's why I went back and got the MBA in technology. So I'm more of like the business side of technology. I can't fix anything, but I'm kind of the customer facing, writing requirements, forecasting, that type of thing. And so it was just kind of, that's the path that I took. But I married young. I married at 25, 2 boys. I love being domestic because corporate is great, but it's one of those things that it's a wave. And when it's good, it's wonderful. Big bonuses, lots of benefits, all of that. But also in tech, I've been laid off, I think 5 times. I always land on my feet, but every time getting back on that horse and interviewing again and starting over, it just wears on you. So I'm glad that I've been able to balance both.
I love that you said that, because that kind of segues into my next question of how do you stay motivated and continue to set and achieve new goals in your career?
Well, for me, career is, like I said, it's what I do. It's not who I am. And by that, I mean, for me, and I'm 48, so I'll be 49 later this year, approaching 50, I realized that life is, for me, so much more about the relationships, the memories that I make, the experiences that I have. And now as I'm getting older, I believe in the older women teaching the young. That's why I have this finishing school. So because I've been in corporate now 20, plus years, I'm kind of on autopilot, especially in tech. It doesn't matter the industry. Like I said, I get laid off within a few months. I'm working somewhere else again. So I've been able to put it in that perspective because, let's face it, once you've been in the workforce, you've seen the mission statements and the leadership changes and, I've had those years of rah, rah, go team, go. But on the flip side of that, when they need to make cuts and there's, a change, you realize very quickly that you're a line item. And so understanding that and accepting that, it's helped me to pivot and really put my heart and my soul and my focus into something that will last, something that actually builds me up. And the work is just a means to an end. But that's just me.
So I want to touch back a base on what you said. It seemed like you said that the words means to an end. What did you mean by that last line? I'm not sure if I quoted you right, but what did you mean by that last line? I hope I quoted you right.
A means to an end just means it pays the bills. So I'm amicably divorced from my ex-husband. We co-parent really well. The boys, now that they're teenagers, they actually live with their dad. He's here in the Atlanta area, and then they come to visit me. So I'm kind of empty nesting now. So I provide, for myself as far as mortgage, and, I have to be independent as far as being an adult. So working provides that. It provides income, it provides health care, it provides, the basics that you need. I do well. I'm not going to complain at all. You can make a lot of money in tech, but I know now not to hitch my wagon to something that could change just like that, because it's happened to me multiple times. So, it's an exchange. You work for a company, you give them your time, they give you a paycheck, and I leave it in that box. But as far as what really fulfills me, it's the other stuff that I do.
Yes. It is when you said you did tech, it just opened up our minds, because Jasmine and I was thinking you was a substitute teacher because of your name. And I'm thinking you teaching elementary kids. Jasmine, what were your thoughts when you saw her name?
Yeah, I thought I went looking onto your social media and stuff. So I was kind of confused because I'm like, I don't see anything about teaching, but it says substitute teacher. So okay, and I was telling Chris I'm confused. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. We were like, well, maybe she'll teach her, and maybe she just don't show the kids for those reasons, like legally. So I was like, okay. And then talking to you today, you're tech, and that is, I want to be real. Like, I'm very transparent. I think we need more Black women in tech. That is what we need in tech. More Black women, because tech really started because of a Black woman. When you really get into the GPS, a Black woman created GPS system. You get into, I can't remember her name, that work at NASA, Black woman. And we are so powerful. We are so smart. We are a hidden gem because a lot of people just can't handle us. And to see that you're in tech and you're not in my age group, but you still went that path years ago, way before my generation started talking about Black girls in tech, before they even became a movement, is very powerful, because we need more of us in the tech to shape the tech that we'll have 10, 20 years from now. So I think it's very important, because you have a lot of Black kids that grow up and they want to be football players, NFL players, just the typical things, versus being something, and that you can make the same money in tech. And
you absolutely can. Yeah, without damaging your body or damaging your image. I do want to ask you, what do you mean that people can't handle us? I just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
So when I started to try to work in corporate America, this was last year. I really was trying to work in corporate America. I realized they were just trying to meet a ratio. That's it. And that's when I stopped putting my race on applications, because I was really trying to get into tech, to learn tech, to provide for my family. And I said, oh, I'm nothing but a number that they're trying to hire, a quota. I'm a quota. That's what I mean by handle us, is a quota. They have a little box. We got to hire this many people this year of this race, for we can get whatever funding, whatever their quotas are. That's how I felt when I was interviewing. And certain questions I was asked really was off-putting.
Yeah,
and that's
you're right. You're going to see that everywhere. I mean, we are a double minority as Black women, and I have seen the same thing where people light up as soon as they see you. But for me, like I said, I understand and I accept it. I understand that I'm playing their game in their space. So I negotiate the salary and the perks that work for me. And it is an exchange. You know, working in tech has so many benefits. I work from home now. I used to commute into the office with this Atlanta traffic before the pandemic. Now I work from home. You can get a lot, you can scale your income so much more quickly in tech if you have the type of skills that are transferable and can't be outsourced. So it allows us to make income sooner than our parents' generation, who may have had to wait, work 20 plus years to make the kind of income. So there's a lot of benefits, but I think where we miss is we think that we are really part of. We need to understand on its face, it's their world. We're here for a moment, we exchange, we get what we need because they are going to get what they need. And then you take that and you build a community and you do other things with those resources. And that's what I'm trying to do.
I love that. So have you experienced self-doubt or imposter syndromes? And if you have, how have you handled that? And what tips can you share for building confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'll give you two examples. So in the workspace, if we're talking about that, I know that I'm not like a techie person. Like I said, I'm more on the business side of tech. And so when I get around people who are writing code or who are just able to like take stuff apart and put it back together, sometimes I feel like, I'm out of place. However, I realize that the skill that I do have, being able to talk to people at all different levels of the organization, being able to run meetings, having those interpersonal skills, because a lot of times the biggest brainiacs in tech, you put them in front of people and they lock up. So I had to realize that it's not about comparing. All of those skills are needed. So I just focus on what I can do. And in my older age, I'm okay saying, you know what? I don't know, but I'll find out. But I remember that used to be something that bothered me. Like, oh my gosh, like I have no idea what language they're talking about. And then on the etiquette and the finishing school side, I started taking these classes for my own personal development. I had no intention to set off and teach other people, but women started asking me, can you come teach my class? Can you help me understand this? And so I was like, well, I'm not really like certified in anything. I didn't go to school for this. I'm still a student. But what I've learned is that you don't have to be all the way at the finish line. You just have to be like one step above the people that want to learn from you. And so we turn back around and we help bring them along.
Maggie, I'm sorry if you had. I thought I was mute. If you heard static or anything, I thought I was mute because sorry about that. But I'm so happy that you got into tech and now you're doing something that you absolutely love, which is creating content and showing families and showing the world how to create the same things that mom and grandma used to make, but make it healthier. This ingredient can be used instead of this ingredient, but it's healthier for you. So I love that you are taking that initiative to be the face of that, because me, and Jasmine know, in Black families, high blood pressure, cholesterol, heart attacks is really, diabetes is really big in our community. So you taking time to create content for that shows how you're truly an advocate for the people around you, because you care about what goes in their body.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all creatures of habit, and we just sometimes we don't know what we like. We just like what we know. And so I've had younger ladies actually say, thank you for giving me permission to eat something else. And what I love about what I do, like I said, I make the substitute version, but I can teach you how to make, pancakes or a pot pie or whatever you want to eat the regular way if you don't have those challenges. But I used to be pre-diabetic, I used to have elevated cholesterol and I used to have borderline blood pressure on top of the excess weight, which came from a lot of the corporate stress and ripping and running and going from meeting to meeting to meeting until you're so hungry you don't care, you're just in the drive-through and you're just all over the place. So for me, the better food choices plus the finishing and everything to kind of get me to just compose myself better, it's part of everything for me. But I've had men email me and say their doctor's reports say whatever you're doing, keep it up. They don't even know, sometimes I'll say, hey, I found this at Whole Foods, let's try it, do we like it? I don't know. And we'll kind of taste and do things together on the live stream, so it makes it fun and it kind of erases the barrier of, I don't know, what is that over there? So we're all curious, we all eat, so I guess I'll be the guinea pig.
I love that. And it's great to hear, well, it's great to hear that you went through an experience and you're like, okay, well, this is going to start with me. I'm going to help the masses learn that there is another way, at the same time helping yourself to get healthy. So kudos to you, Maggie. Lastly, before we close out, I wanted to ask, in the spirit of empowering others, is there a specific call to action or challenge you would like to extend to our listeners to encourage them to take a step towards their own empowerment?
Absolutely. One of the things that's been important to me on my journey is self-awareness. And I know it seems so like, well, yeah, of course. But I think a lot of times we just move through life either blissfully unaware or we don't really care about how we show up, about our reputation, about our strengths, about our weaknesses. And so in teaching the finishing school, a lot of it, of course, there's the fork and the knife and all of that, but proper etiquette and elegance is really about consideration of others. And for me, I'll put myself on the hot seat. I really had to learn to slow down because I would just move really fast and talk really fast and talk really loud. And I was just like a bull in the china shop. So just really taking a moment to assess ourselves. We're always with ourselves. And then that way you can kind of rate what are my strengths and what are my areas of opportunity. If you have, I'll make this up, let's say you have a bad habit of, bad language, and that's something that you really want to be mindful of. Well, that's not an issue for me, but I have an issue of just kind of like whatever's on my mind, I'm just going to say it. Maybe I need to listen more than I speak. Then you can look at those areas and prioritize what you want to change or what you want to enhance. And I just think that awareness allows you to have that confidence that kind of comes from, nope, I'm not perfect. I'm a work in progress, but I'm on my way. And it just helps you to kind of have that strength from within, as opposed to letting, the ways of the world just toss you around. So you really can be grounded and empowered. So hopefully that helps.
That is our goal, is to empower women on our platform through the podcast, through our articles, through everything. And I'm happy that you left them with some words of encouragement. And my last question for you is, do you have any closing remarks for our listeners?
Oh, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is a wonderful platform and a space that you are creating to promote women. I love, we women, Black women, have so much value that we can do, and we are so diverse. I am intentional about breaking through some of the stereotypes. I'm a nerd. I'm, all of these things. I'm not cool, but it's okay. And I want us to embrace each other. And even though we are the same, we are very different. And I think our differences are beautiful.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Thank you for those closing remarks. That was amazing. And sometimes we need to hear that. We need that reminder. And so thank you for taking the step to be that pillar, for your community and for Black women.
It's my absolute honor.
You're so welcome. You guys, this was the Empowered Woman Conversations by Becoming Her magazine. I am Crystal Jordan.
I am Jasmine Hawkins.
And today we had Maggie the Substitute Teacher. Please follow her on all social media platforms. And thank you for listening. Bye, you guys.